Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please let's go to the headlines.
Tonight there is breaking news as we come on the air in the West. President Trump just moments ago announcing Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of the peace plan. The president now saying all of the hostages will be released very soon. The president had been note late today by Secretary of State Marco Rubio in front of the cameras. Tonight, hear what that note said that indicated this could be happening. We'll go live to Mary Bruce. Also breaking at this hour, the arrest of a 29-year-old Uber driver now accused of setting the blaze that led to the horrific Palisades fire that killed 12 people and destroyed thousands of homes. Where he was caught and the evidence tonight, the images authorities say he created of the city burning. Tonight, former FBI Director James Comey arraigned in federal court, pleading not guilty. Comey, a frequent target of President Trump, and tonight what ABC News has now learned about a central witness in this case. Tonight, the East Coast, millions now bracing for what could be the season's first nor'easter, a dangerous coastal storm right up into the Northeast. Lee Goldberg standing by with the forecast. Tonight, National Guard troops preparing to deploy to the streets of Chicago. Tonight, President Trump calling for the jailing of Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Pritzker accusing the president of suffering from dementia, saying this is a man who has something stuck in his head. He can't get it out of his head. The government shutdown tonight, day 8, no end in sight, and the growing concern now over air traffic controllers forced to work without pay. Alarm over low staffing, and at Newark and Washington's Reagan Airport, they're actually reducing the flights coming in and out so controllers can keep up. The arrest tonight after 5 months on the run, convicted of double murder, the last of the 10 escapees to break free in New Orleans, found several states away in a standoff, authorities using gas canisters to flush him out of the house. And America Strong tonight, Dolly Parton right here, her message tonight for all of you, what she says about her health with so much concern out there, and after her own sister asked fans for prayers, what Dolly is saying herself tonight.
Breaking news this Wednesday night, the first phase of a Gaza peace deal struck. What the U.S. president says Israel and Hamas have agreed to. Pressure piles on the prime minister to strike a trade deal with the U.S.
Now those elbows have come down. The American tariffs have doubled.
Plus, Mark Carney's pitch to Trump about reviving the Keystone XL pipeline. Canada's most wanted.
We are committed to finding you.
The unique approach police are using to try to track down 25 fugitives. An arrest in California's deadly and destructive Palisades fire. Why police believe this man did it.
She's a sparrow.
Plus, you can't keep her down. Dolly Parton's message to the world and how the music legend is helping feed the hungry in Manitoba. Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with breaking news. The U.S. president says a peace deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. Talks have been underway for 3 days in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, including with Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. In a social media post tonight, Trump announced Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of his 20-point peace plan. He says this means all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties, he says, will be treated fairly. Israel's prime minister posting tonight, with God's help, we will bring them all home. Qatar's foreign ministry says the agreement will allow for the release of the remaining Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners and the entry of aid into Gaza. There are reports the hostage release could begin Saturday or Sunday. Hamas confirmed in a statement tonight it has signed the deal which it says determines the end of the war in Gaza, the withdrawal of the occupation from it, the entry of aid, and the exchange of prisoners. And it calls on countries of the world to force Israel to fully implement the demands of the agreement and not allow it to evade or delay the implementation of it. And it thanked the mediating countries as well as the efforts of the U.S. president. Earlier today,
Hello, good morning. It's 6 a.m. Breaking news this hour. Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of a Gaza peace deal. It's Thursday, the 9th of October. A note and a whisper and a moment in history when the President and the world found out this Gaza peace plan that had a breakthrough.
I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they'll get it pretty quickly, so I will take a couple of more questions.
People on the streets of Israel after hearing all hostages returned on Monday. Hugs and handshakes between negotiators in Egypt. The wait now for the Israeli government to approve the subsequent ceasefire. The massive thanks to Donald Trump and negotiators asking not to allow Israel to evade or delay. For people in Gaza, the signals that the beginning of the war of 2 years could end. Israel and Hamas have signed off the first phase of President Donald This is DW News. The Gaza peace plan. Media. Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner are in Egypt to join the talks for a Gaza peace deal. Robson and Omar Yaki. The three have been recognized for their work developing metal organic frameworks. The jury said their research would allow for the creation of entirely new materials with unheard of properties. Former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to charges of lying to Congress and obstruction of justice in his first court appearance since he was indicted. Comey's indictment has been viewed by Democrats as an attempt by President Donald Trump to take revenge on an adversary. This is DW News in Berlin, and remember you can find much more news on our website, that's dw.com.
Hopeful and celebrating as Hamas and Israel announced that they agreed to the first part of the deal aimed at bringing a lasting truce. The remaining hostages are to be free exchanged from Palestinians being held. Troops are to start withdrawing from Gaza, though the Israeli military has warned this Thursday that the north of the Strip is currently considered a dangerous combat zone. Another 48 hours put on the clock for France to find a solution to its political crisis. President Emmanuel Macron says he will name his eighth prime minister before the end of the week. This after the outgoing one says most lawmakers are motivated to make it work by named coverage elections. Meanwhile, a national strike and war demonstrations expected in Madagascar this Thursday. Youth-led protests over a lack of amenities have been ongoing there for over 2 months. Good to have you with us. We're also coming up in the programme. We'll have overview of the international newspapers with Dimtika amongst other things. The question of will Donald Trump get the Nobel Peace Prize? Well, for some in the Norwegian press, the idea is laughable. The nominee is set to be announced this Friday. Good morning. Hamas signed the hostages could be released as early as Monday. So will this deal finally get over the line and bring peace?
Minister Keir Starmer has said the UK will not relax visa rules for India as he visits the country for trade talks. Sport this morning, Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe says manager Ruben Amorim will get 3 years to prove himself. We'll see about that as they take on Wales tonight. Thomas Tuchel has said that England are underdogs at the World Cup, which does surprise 60 years. And the Ryder Cup of Paddle begins today in London.
Hello there, good morning. We'll see any fog patches clearing away through the course of the morning. A bright today, though there's also some drizzle in the forecast. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Charlie Peters, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Gets a breakthrough. Donald Trump says Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of a peace plan. While the court issues a prohibition order for a pro-Palestinian protest at the Sydney Opera House, organisers say it will go ahead. Gunman at large, a former UFC fighter shot dead in Sydney's northwest in what police say was a brazen and targeted attack. And an 88-year-old professor from the University of Melbourne awarded a Nobel Prize in chemistry alongside 2 colleagues. Hello, welcome to ABC News. I'm Ross Childs. Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a Gaza peace deal. It'll include the release of hostages still held by Hamas, as well as the release of some Palestinian prisoners. Israeli forces are also set to withdraw to an agreed-upon line outside Gaza. US President Donald Trump hinted that an agreement had been reached before the news was officially confirmed.
Departments to find the criminal conspiracy.
I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly, so I will take a couple of more questions.
We have reporters in Washington, D.C. and Jerusalem. North America correspondent Carrington Clark is in Washington, and Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran is in.
This is Asia Now.
Hello and good afternoon. It is 12 p.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 9:30 a.m. in New Delhi, and 11 a.m. in Jakarta. I'm Yasmin Yonkers at this hour. A major breakthrough for the war in Gaza. Israel and Hamas agreed to the first phase of a ceasefire deal. Hostages could be freed as early as this weekend. President Donald Trump, who pushed for this peace plan, says that the U.S. will play a role in helping to rebuild and keep Gaza safe. It's widely expected the leader will travel to the Middle East in the coming days. And emergency alerts issued as Typhoon Halong nears Japan's southern islands. Officials warn of major damage from destructive winds and waves.
Africa News. The news.
6 South African activists who were on board the Gaza humanitarian aid flotilla returned only after being released by the authorities. Speaking after their return, they said they suffered mistreatment during their abduction and expressed solidarity with Palestinians. Among the activists receiving a warm hero's welcome at Johannesburg's airport was Nelson Mandela's grandson, Mandla Mandela.
Subjected to forms of, but it's nothing compared to what Palestinians have been subjected to on a daily basis. We were kidnapped on international waters. Palestinians are maimed and killed.
The activists said they were subjected to harsher treatment than other detainees due to South Africa's role in the genocide case.
The ICJ and ICC, so there is a bit of anger about that. And we don't have an embassy in Israel. We have our embassy is in Ramallah in Palestine. So our consular officials tried to come to us. They tried to come to us even from Thursday, and they were not allowed. And then when they finally saw us, it was Sunday. And on Sunday, they were only really time up, and then we say no.
Clear mistreatment. The South African nationals were among some 450 activists arrested as Israeli forces intercepted the flotilla seeking to break Israel's Gaza blockade. The World Trade Organization on Tuesday said it was sharply raising its forecast for global merchandise trade growth to 2.4% this year. The trade body had last set its prediction at 0.9% as recently as August.
World merchandise trade volume growth came in stronger than expected in the first half of 2025, up 4.9% year-on-year. We now expect world merchandise trade volumes to expand by 2.4% this year.
Among this year's solid features is trade between developing countries.
South-South trade grew 8% year-on-year in value terms in the first half of 2025, compared to 6% for world trade overall. Our very rough estimates suggest South-South trade involving partners other than China is growing even faster, up around 9%. With respect to services trade, which continues to outpace trade in goods, the new report projects 4.6% growth in 2025 in volume terms.
The organization also attributed the increasing merchandise trade to front-loaded imports in the United States over tariffs fear and AI-related purchases.
The report finds that trade in AI-related goods was a key driver of the strong growth in the first half of 2025, with trade in these products rising 20% year-on-year in terms. For nearly half of year-on-year increase at the global level, despite representing less than 10% of total merchandise trade. The rise is fueled by structural investments in digital provides to cloud.
Agrees of his peace plan. Moments ago, the president will be on the ground in the Middle East. Also tonight, the new arrest of a 29-year-old Uber driver accused of maliciously setting the fire that grew into one of the most destructive blazes in California. Dismiss computer. What his last passengers described the night of the fire and the new reaction from the people whose community went up in flames. Former FBI director and longtime Trump target James Comey pleading not guilty. The legal defense his team laid out today. The shocking arrest of a man with 200 explosives detained outside a D.C. church just hours before Supreme Court justices were set to be there. The new dashcam video showing the moment this medical chopper slammed into a highway. Hero Big Sister, how this quick-thinking 10-year-old saved her brother from choking to death. And Dolly's own words, she, quote, ain't dead yet. The music legend using her signature humor to set the record straight. Starts with Tom Yamas. And good evening. We begin with that major breaking news tonight. President Trump announcing
Good evening, I'm Amna Nawaz. Jeff Bennett is away. On the NewsHour tonight, Israel and Hamas agreed to the first phase of a peace plan in Gaza after 2 years of war. Former FBI Director James Comey is arraigned in federal court for allegedly lying to Congress, a case many see as President Trump's attempt to seek political retribution. Staffing shortages caused by the government shutdown disrupt air travel across the country.
Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israeli forces have killed 8 Palestinians across Gaza in the past 24 hours, according to Gaza's health ministry. At least 118 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli attacks on Gaza since Friday, when Trump called on Israel to halt its strikes. This is Ibrahim Deed, a displaced Palestinian from Jabalia.
This is a genocide, a humanitarian extermination. We're suffering during this current war from poverty, famine, displacement, and all types of things that disgust human beings. You look at people now, those alive are just like those dead, just because of war.
Meanwhile, Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir prayed at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem today. Hamas condemned Ben-Gvir's visit as deliberately provocative.
We are 2 years after the terrible massacre here on the Temple Mount, where there is victory. Every house in Gaza has a picture of the Temple Mount. And today, 2 years later, we are winning on the Temple Mount. We are the owners of the Temple Mount.
Trump's Special Middle East Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner are attending the Gaza ceasefire talks in Egypt today. Hamas and Israel are holding indirect negotiations based on President Trump's proposed 20-point plan. Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdurrahman Al Thani and Turkey's intelligence chief Ibrahim Kalin are also set to attend the talks. A senior Hamas official told Reuters Hamas negotiators in Israel have exchanged lists of prisoners and hostages who would be released if a ceasefire deal is reached. Here's Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari.
Now it's early to talk about any alternatives to any plan.
Breaking tonight, President Trump says Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a peace plan. The president may be headed to the Middle East this weekend. He is charged with starting the Palestine ceasefire. An arrest 9 months after one of the most destructive wildfires in Los Angeles history. Why officials now say it was intentionally set. The East Coast braces for what could be days of dangerous weather from the Carolinas to New England. Oh, great pick right there. And this diehard baseball fan not only called his shot, he caught it. I'm still in shock, right?
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois. And I'm John Dickerson. Just as the war between Israel and Hamas was entering a third year, President Trump announced on social media tonight that both Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of his peace plan. The development comes following talks in Egypt, brokered by the United States, Egypt, and Qatar. Dozens of Israeli hostages, dead and alive, taken by Hamas on October 7, 2023, will be released soon, according to the president. Israel will withdraw its troops to an agreed-upon area. We have a series of reports here from the Middle East and the White House, beginning with senior White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe. So, Ed, what do we know tonight?
Well, we got an inkling that there might be an announcement earlier today, and it came in the form of that social media message from the president saying he was proud that Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of our peace plan. It means all the hostages will be released, he said, very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed online as the first steps towards a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. He called it a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, all surrounding nations, the United States of America, and ends by saying, "Blessed are the peacemakers." The president's personal
Let's bring in our panel about the breaking news first. Fox News chief political analyst Brit Hume, Fox News contributor, former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer, and Yemisi Egbewali is former chief of staff and advisor to the Biden White House press office. Brit, if as projected, and again, we expect to get this picture as Jennifer described it of the shaking hands, this is a really big deal for that region. And for
it certainly is, Brett. It certainly is, Brett. It's a very big deal indeed, something that seemed almost impossible for so long, not to mention the last 2 years since October 7th. So I think, the president will get a great deal of credit for this. It was his peace plan that formed the basis, I guess, for this agreement, so far as we know. But, we've been through so many of these things that have come so close. So I think I'll believe it when I see those hostages released.
Well, there you go. Brent, just while you were talking, as mentioned, they were waiting on Truth Social, and here it is. President Donald Trump. I am very proud to announce that Israel and Hamas have both signed off on the first phase of our peace plan. This means that all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed-upon line as the first steps toward a strong, durable, and everlasting peace. All parties will be treated fairly. This is a great day for the Arab and Muslim world, Israel, and all surrounding nations, and the United States of America. And we thank the mediators from Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey who worked with us to make this historic and unprecedented event happen. Blessed are the peacemakers. Again, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, out on Truth Social as we were talking there. Ari, put this in historical perspective, knowing all we know about the years and years, decades
of turmoil.
Well, what's truly remarkable about this is previous breakthroughs existed between Israel and unique nations, Israel and Egypt, Israel and Jordan. Then you have the Abraham Accords expanding into a wider group of nations, Bahrain, the UAE. But never before have you had an agreement with Hamas, 8 Muslim nations, 7 Arab, 1 nation, Turkey, Muslim nation, Israel, and the United States. That is the breakthrough here. From a humane point of view, it is wonderful and joyous that the hostages will come home. Families can finally, at long last, be reunited. But there are 2 big steps that remain. And those steps are the disarmament of Hamas and Hamas relinquishing control and power. Those 2 are going to be the trickiest ones yet.
Thank you for watching Amish Shakil 5858. I am Amish Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.